Yeah. After this session, we have the validatory function. Some of you give the feedback through the virtual mode. As well as we have received the feedback form in the Google Forms. You are requested that speed of kindly give your feedback through the virtual mode. When you are giving the feedback, unmute your video and audio. Video and audio. Thank you. So we are going to start the afternoon session. This session will take place by Dr. Sri Kuttan. Dr. Sri Kuttan completed Master in Physical Chemistry from School of Chemical Sciences, Mahatma Gandhi University, Kottayam, Kerala, and PhD from National Chemical Laboratory, one of the sister laboratory of CSIR, NCL Pune. He is recipient of prestigious Raman Charbak Fellowship and JSPS Postdoctoral Fellowship. He also worked in participants, please put your okay, thank you. So he also worked in the University of Poitiers, France, and Tokyo Institute of Technology, Japan. He currently working as a scientist at CSR Sikri in Chennai unit. His main area of research in the development of electrocatalysis for green energy conversion and storage devices. Today is going to discuss about the low temperature polymer fuel cell. With this brief introduction, now I invite Dr. Sri Kuttan. Sir, please. Sir, Sri Kuttan, sir, your mic is muted. Sir, Sri Kuttan, sir, your mic is muted. Please unmute. Yeah, okay. Now it's okay.
Yeah. Because somebody, I am not muting. Somebody is muting, and I'm getting messages like that.
It's happened.
Okay. Thank you very much for nice introduction. Good afternoon to all. So today I'm presenting a little bit on low temperature polymer electrolyte membrane fuel cells. So shall I share my presentation?
Sure. Carry on. Welcome.
Just. Can you see my presentation?
Yes, sir.
Yes, sir. Okay. So Today I'm talking about low temperature polymer electrolyte membrane fuel cells. And my name is Rikutan from CSIR Central Electrochemical Research Institute Madras Unit. So before talking more about polymer electrolyte membrane fuel cells, I would like to give a current energy scenario and why we need such devices for our energy concept. So you know that in 1970, the condition of India is like that, means we were using a very low energy for our needs, but due to enormous technology advancement in the current 2019 or 2020, our energy need increased dramatically and is around 80% increase in the energy consumption. So the country like India, from where we are getting this much energy for our day-to-day activities, we mainly depending on coal. That is, India is one of the country which are extensively using coal for energy, mainly for electricity generation. You can see from figure for electricity generations around 70% of coal is using, and a total primary energy it is around 44% from coal. And so, hello,
कोविड वाले का याद है? नहीं नाम नहीं उसका नहीं चाहिए लेक्चर का कोविड का क्या था टाइटल.
So please participants, please mute your audio and video. Okay, thank you.
So among different countries, China is using more coal than India. India is in the second position. However, we have to depend only for coal for next few more years to get enough energy for our day-to-day activities. But the Paris agreement, we are forcing to reduce the carbon emission. So you can see from this slide that the demand for energy anyway is increasing, and in 2013, I have given up to 2013, the extensive use of coal and other petroleum fuel is mandatory or necessary. And we also know that day to day, the petrol and petroleum fuel prices also increasing, and the energy demand, vehicle, mainly petrol and diesel is extensively used for vehicle applications, and extensive use of this petroleum fuel is actually increasing the atmospheric CO2 content. I recently got checked that at September 2020, the atmospheric CO2 level reach up to 411.2 ppm. That means the amount of carbon dioxide is also increasing by extensive use of the coal or other fossil fuels. So look at this. Diesel and petrol we are extensively using for our day-to-day life, and most of this diesel petrol are for our fuels. Our vehicle application is not related to any other. And for a non-transportation, we are using a very less amount of this one, and we are importing this petroleum because we don't have much resources, and a huge amount is actually paid for the crude oil. And this actually are just to look for a indigenous and affordable technology, clean energy technology. And what are the available clean energy technology we have? There are 7 different type of renewable energy sources like solar, wind, biomass, hydrogen, geothermal, ocean, and hydropower. And solar energy, we have with India is India's geological location is very good for solar energy because we are getting huge amount of solar compared to Europe and somewhere in Australia. And similarly, wind is also a location specific in Tamil Nadu, particularly is one of the state which produce much electricity from wind energy. And biomass, okay, biomass is a renewable source, but we cannot completely comment on the CO2 product. We cannot comment that this is CO2 free source of energy. And the geothermal, ocean, and hydropower, all these are specific location based, because it's not everywhere in India. It's a specific location based. So in that aspect, water, hydrogen or water, we can use as a very good source of energy. From water, we can produce hydrogen, and that hydrogen can be utilized for our day-to-day life. So why we need that renewable energy? I said, if you are want to produce 1 megawatt hour power from coal, it will produce around 1.5 pounds of CO2. And it's increased the temperature around 1.8 degrees Celsius. And if it is from the renewable energy, there is no production of CO2, and our earth is quite look green. So clean energy sources, present and future. So renewable energy, we have different sources, and we can produce electricity from these renewable sources, mainly hydrogen we are talking about, and that hydrogen can be used for many applications which are presently performed by the fossil fuels. So hydrogen is the next generation or future power sources, especially energy sources. So future and emerging technology for climate and energy challenges, we especially for suppose you are looking only on the vehicle applications, we have a battery vehicle and internal combustion engine based vehicle, that is petroleum based vehicle, and we need the efficiency is overall, see, compared in IC engine the efficiency is less than 25%, but battery based vehicle it is above 40%. The problem is if it is a battery, the charging time is huge. So that is a drawback of battery based vehicle compared to IC engine based vehicle. So we need a technology, or we need a device which can be higher in efficiency, and the charging discharging will be very easy. So hydrogen based fuel cell is one option, and hybrid electrical vehicle is also one option for that. So fuel cell in use, that is mainly fuel cell is using for stationary and transportation applications, and many of the major car companies are developing fuel cell car prototype, which should come to the market during the next decade, but is already available. And the car uses either pure hydrogen or methanol with an onboard reformer. That is methanol, if you are using, that will convert it into hydrogen in the car itself. So what is the need? What is the most advantages of this green energy or renewable energy based power applications? You know that in your home, the electricity actually coming from the power stations. So using line transmission and distribution, it is coming to your home for the energy applications. So during the production, there are around 30. During the production is transmission from the power plant to the transmission line. There is around 40%, 40% of losses in the energy, and the production itself has an efficiency of 30%. So when it's reaching your home, then most of the energy is already reduced because of the transmission loss and many other losses. But in the renewable sources, especially fuel cell, suppose you are using fuel cell, that fuel cell can be used in your home on board. The position place where you need energy, there itself you can produce electricity, and you can use that electricity for your applications, whatever the application it is. If it is a household application, you can use a stationary fuel cell. If it's a vehicular application, you can use a small fuel cell in your vehicle instead of petroleum based engine. So the scenario 2 is actually showing a schematic diagram for the difference between conventional power plant and fuel cell plant. So fuel cell, you can keep it in your home and you can use it for your own applications. So coming to that fuel cell, what is fuel cell? A fuel cell is an electrochemical device that directly converts a chemical energy into energy of fuel into electrical energy. So advantages of the fuel cell is it is free from Carnot limitation, since conversion of the fuel to energy take place via an electrochemical process and not combustion. In fuel cell, there is no combustion of fuel. Only electrochemical reaction is happening and the energy is coming from that electrochemical reaction. So zero emission engine. There is no CO2 production. The byproduct for the fuel cell is nothing but the water. So it is a zero emission engine. And the continuous supply, energy supply as long as fuel and oxidants are supplied. If you give more and more fuel, it will work for longer period. So we can continuously use this device as long as you have a fuel. So there are different type of fuel cells. The fuel cell is actually classified according to the electrolyte which are using in the device. So based on the electrolyte, the operation temperature is also different. So there are total 5 different type of fuel cells. The first one I'm talking about solid oxide fuel cell, SOFC. So solid oxide fuel cell, from the name itself, you can know that there is a solid oxide material like yttria doped zirconia based material, solid perovskites or bronze millerites material, and as a electrolyte, it can help for oxygen transport at a high temperature. Operation temperature is very high. At 900,000 degrees Celsius, only this fuel cell will work. So the next is molten carbonate fuel cell, MCFC, molten carbonate. It will conduct carbonate ions. So the fuel is nothing but hydrogen, CO, whatever. We can use even we can use CH4 and many other things, and oxygen as an oxidant. So molten carbonate is also, because this carbonate ion transport, it is very slow in process. So we need a high temperature for its operation. And come to AFC, that is alkaline fuel cell. So liquid alkali is actually using as a electrolyte like potassium hydroxide or sodium hydroxide. So fuel is hydrogen and oxidant is nothing but oxygen or air. So the temperature is in between 60 and 120 because OH transport is a little easy in aqueous KOH or sodium hydroxide solution. And again, you can see lower one, PAFC, that is phosphoric acid fuel cell. So phosphoric acid fuel cell, from the name itself, the electrolyte is nothing but the phosphoric acid. So it will conduct a proton. So hydrogen and fuel is using as a hydrogen, and oxidant is nothing but oxygen. And the operation temperature is in between 160 and 220. Is a little bit higher compared to alkali fuel cells. And the last one is called polymer electrolyte membrane fuel cell. Today I am talking much about the polymer electrolyte membrane fuel cell. Here a conducting polymer is using. A ion selective or ion conducting polymer is using as an electrolyte. It can conduct either proton, either OH minus, or either any other specific ion. And such a membrane is a polymer membrane is using as an electrolyte, and hydrogen is using as a fuel, and oxygen is using as an oxidant. And you can see the temperature is very low. It will work on our at around 80 degrees Celsius. So for most of the automobile application, vehicle application, this fuel cell is extensively used. And more stationary application, the above fuel cells are more preferred. But in the vehicle application, this lower fuel cell is using. And of course, PFC is also using for the stationary application. You can see type of fuel cell and suitable power generation. Low temperature fuel cell, the power generation is very low because it's using low temperature below 100 degree. With the increase in the temperature, see we can also will get a higher power output. So prime power, mainly commercial, residential, data centers, of grid infrastructure, many things. Backup power is can use, and the low and high heating unit, and telecom sector and transportation. All this can be useful. This fuel cell can be applied in all these applications. So fuel cell journey. Fuel cells first coined by William Grove in 1839. It is first called as a gas battery and is using hydrogen and oxygen. He only coined the term gas. This is a gas battery, and is William Grove is the person who invented it first. Then slowly, different people, different scientists, they have worked hard for developing fuel cell, and in 2009 residential fuel cells micro chip units are introduced, and in 2015 even power plant, fuel cell power plant also started in South Korea, and Honda already started their fuel cell car. It's called Mirai in Japan. So Japan and America is are extensively working on fuel cell. Of course, recently Europe is also actively participated. So now car, truck, and many other, even train also tried with fuel cells. So what about the energy? Yesterday's presentation, you may seen this plot. This is called the Ragon plot. In supercapacitor energy, everybody is tell about the Ragon plot. What is Ragon plot? It actually telling about the power density versus energy density. So here, fuel cell position in the Ragon plot is very low.
Excuse me, sir. We are not able to see the slides that you are presenting. Only the first one is here, fundamental and material aspects. The slides are not changing.
Really?
Yeah, now it is visible. Now changing. Yes, sir.
So
Okay. It's working. Okay. Is it visible now?
Yes.
Okay.
Yes, sir. Yes, sir.
Yes, sir.
Okay. So in the Ragon plot, that is power density versus energy density, the fuel cell position is here. So that means fuel cell actually giving high energy density. It's a high energy density device compared to supercapacitor, higher power density, power density device, and fuel cell is a high energy density. So it is a high energy density device. And you can see here in the lower diagram, that is fuel input into a reformer. Reformer is nothing but the device which convert any chemical into hydrogen, like methanol or formic acid or any other stuff, that will convert in a reformer to hydrogen rich gas, and this will send into fuel cell, and fuel cell produce electricity, and this will DC power output, it will convert it into AC, and byproduct is nothing but water. So the heat is producing during the chemical reaction, it will further use for the fuel reformer. So everything is we are utilizing. Even in the water also, the produced water also, we can produce from this water, we can produce hydrogen using electrolysis. So fuel cell use hydrogen to produce energy and water, and that water can be replaced. Again used as a source for hydrogen. So it's completely recycling process. In near future, we can see water, using water vehicle can run, like instead of petroleum we can use water. So water will help us to for the traveling sector. So normal thermal, look at this figure, normal thermal power plants. So in thermal power plants, during the production of energy, there are many gases, dangerous, poisonous gases is producing. But in fuel cell, these are negligible or zero. So it is a poison-free fuel devices. Similarly, you can see when the carbon amount is decreasing, that much good for our environment. So fuel cell uses only hydrogen. That will be a zero carbon based devices. So the mechanism. See, actually in a low temperature fuel cell, I have said there is a polymer membrane and it is separated two electrodes. One is called anode and another is called a cathode. So I will again explain in detail about this. So hydrogen is using as a fuel and that hydrogen will oxidize here in anode and is produced for hydrogen plus ion, that is called proton, for proton and for electron. And this proton pass through the membrane because the membrane allow only proton and the electron will go through the external circuit and it is using for our energy needs. Then that electron is reaching at the cathode and this proton is coming and the oxygen is coming and all these are combined in the electrochemical electrode through an electrochemical reaction produce water. So water is the byproduct. So the potential required for this chemical reaction, overall chemical reaction, is 1.23. This is called open circuit potential or EMF, electromotive force for this reaction, chemical reaction. So practical fuel operating voltage of a fuel cell is in between 0.7 and 0.6 volt. And this fuel cell, this is a single cell. This one is just one cell, and we can combine into multiple and use according to our requirement, and it is called stack. And it has high efficiency and low temperature operation and high energy density, fast startup and system robustness. So key components, what are the key components of fuel cells? You can see there is a membrane electrode assembly. I will discuss more about it, and bipolar plate, and you can see here 1, 2, 3. See, 3 cells are connected in series for making our required energy. So now I am going a little bit a theory of fuel cells, like theoretical fuel cell potential. I already mentioned here the EMF or E0 of a fuel cell is 1.23 volt. So this 1.23 volt at a 25 degree is actually calculated using these equations. So for electrical work, the W electrical work is equal to Q into E. That is, E is the potential and Q is the charge. So the charge transferred in a fuel cell per mole, because hydrogen is using as a fuel in fuel cell. So in 1 mole of hydrogen, how much charge is producing? That is nothing but N into N. N is the Avogadro number and Q is the charge of the electron. So the electrical work we can write in this way, because N and Q is nothing but a Faraday. That is, Faraday constant is nothing but the charge of 1 mole of electron. So charge of 1 mole of electron is called the Faraday constant. So you apply this in this equation, you can see that W electrical is equal to N of E. Many of in the +1, +2 electrochemistry chapter, you can see these equations. So now the maximum amount of electrical work generated in fuel cell correspond to delta G. Delta G is nothing but the free energy change. So useful electrical work is equal to minus delta G, and combine these two equations. So you can write NF is equal to minus delta G. This equation is also very familiar in 12th standard electrochemistry book. And E is equal to minus delta G by NE. E is the potential. So E is equal to minus delta G by NF. So you give the delta G value for the combustion of this hydrogen. So that will come around, theoretical value is around 237.34 kilojoules per mole, divided by N is the number of electron. For one molecule give 2 electron, into F is the Faraday constant. This is the Faraday constant, and you will end up with this value 1.23. So at a 25 degree PM fuel cell operation potential, open circuit potential is 1.23 volt. Suppose we are working at 80 degrees Celsius. I said the fuel cell operation is below 100 degrees Celsius, the low temperature fuel cell. So at 80 degrees Celsius, we can calculate delta G is around minus 228.2 kilojoule. Apply this in the above equation, this equation, you will get a 1.18. There is no much difference in the potential, still it is coming at around 1.18 volt. Now, now we calculate the potential, theoretical potential using thermodynamics, and now come to the theoretical fuel cell efficiency. What is efficiency? Efficiency of an energy conversion device is defined as the ratio between useful energy output and energy input. So you are in a device, suppose you are giving some X amount of energy, okay, energy input, and how much energy out of it is using for the useful work. That ratio is actually telling about the efficiency of the device. So this is this. Let's see the efficiency of any energy conversion device, energy input and energy output. Eta is nothing but efficiency, is E output by input. The same thing in the fuel cell. So delta H, enthalpy, that is heat energy of fuel is applying, giving, hydrogen is giving, and it is using for some useful work. That useful work is nothing but the delta G, that is free energy change, and the delta G, free energy change, is always lesser than.
Slides are not visual from beginning. What is the reason?
It is visible, right? Can you see now?
Sir, slides are visible but not changing. Only number 12 was visible up to now.
Really? Now?
Visual, sir.
Now you are changing, it is visible.
Okay, this mode is fine, right? It is seeing, right?
Can I suggest something to you, sir? It would sort out your problem, sir. So on your screen, you can see there on the right side corner of the screen, there it is written 80%. Then you should go to the left, and there is a book sign over there. And below, on the right side of the book sign, you can press it and you can play it like a PPT.
Yeah, that slideshow only I am doing this slideshow.
No, you're not doing the slideshow right now. Yes, you need to click it, sir.
Now it is slideshow.
You need to click it, sir. Please click it.
What about now? Are you?
No, it's still stuck. You need to click it, sir.
Yes, sir, visible now.
Okay, I can carry, right? Now it is visible, right?
Not.
Yes.
Yes, sir. Now it is visible. Now it
Yes,
is
sir.
visible.
Yes, sir.
And now you can change the slide by using your keyboard or the laptop's keyboard.
Okay.
Left and right, you can move on. Yeah.
Yeah. So I am talking about the theoretical fuel cell efficiency. That is, in efficiency of fuel cell is nothing but the. Can you see the cursor which I am using?
Yes.
Yeah.
Yes,
okay.
we can see it clear.
Yeah. So delta H, it is the enthalpy, that heat energy of the fuel. So we are giving this is the input energy, that is delta H, and is converted. It is producing energy, useful energy, that is nothing but delta G, and delta G, that is free energy change, is always higher than delta H. So it also produces some heat, that is called Q, that is equal to T into delta S. Delta is nothing but the entropy change. So efficiency can be calculated using these equations, that delta G divided by delta H, that is nothing but output divided by input. So it is coming around 83. So fuel cell is showing higher efficiency, that is around 83%. And efficiency also calculated from this using this equation from this potential. See, delta G by NF, it is that is the cell potential. In the previous slide I have shown you, E is equal to delta G by NF, that is around 1.23 volt. And similarly, we can also do this equation minus delta H divided by NF, and that will come around 1.482 volt. So the difference between these two, the ratio between these two is give around 83%. So we are giving some name to this potential. Delta G by delta by NF, that is free energy divided by NF. That is called the theoretical cell potential. And enthalpy change divided by NF, that is called the thermoneutral potential. Because thermoneutral potential is nothing but whatever the energy you are giving, that energy completely you are using. That means there is no change, no loss, but it is practically difficult. So the efficiency is in fuel cell is discussing based on two parameters, that we are using higher heating value of hydrogen and lower heating value of hydrogen. These are the two terms we are using. What is this higher heating value and lower heating value? So if you are using a calorimetric bomb and you are using equal 1 mole of hydrogen and exactly half mole of oxygen and do the combustion, and you will get only liquid water. So how much energy, heat energy is produced? It's around 286 kilojoule per mole. That is called a higher heating value. And the same one with 1 mole of hydrogen, and we are using excess amount of oxygen. Okay, not equivalent, excess amount of oxygen. So that will end up with a mixture of water and some gases. In that case, delta H is a little lower, that is 241 kilojoule per mole. So this is called a lower heating value, and the above one, this one is called a higher heating value. And this lower heating value and higher heating value, you can see that delta H, enthalpy is different. So apply this potential, this enthalpy here, you can see that the ratio, the efficiency also will change. But these are all theoretical conclusion only. That is 90. If you use this one lower heating value, the efficiency go beyond 90%, and a higher heating value, it will come around 83%. These are all theoretical parameters. There are many other things involved in the total efficiency of the fuel cells, real fuel cells. So there are another problem in fuel cell is voltage loss. Now, the previous slide you have seen that the theoretical potential of fuel cell is 1.23 volt, but in actual practice we never get that much potential. What are the reasons? Why this potential is losing? So there are many factors affecting the loss of the potential. The first one is the kinetics of electrochemical reaction, because fuel cell is an electrochemical devices. So some electrochemical reaction is happening. For example, in anode, hydrogen oxidation is happening. In the cathode, oxygen reduction is happening. So the kinetics of the rate of this reaction is actually influencing the voltage loss. Okay, voltage of the fuel cell. That is called the kinetic of the electrochemical reaction. And internal electrical and ionic resistance. Electrical resistance is actually coming from the material which you are using in the fuel cell. And ionic resistance is actually coming from membrane. So these two factors is actually contributing in the voltage loss. And next, difficulties in getting the reactants to the reaction site. So we are giving fuel hydrogen, and it is going to different catalysts which are using in the fuel cell. And if there is any fuel starvation, that is the situation where there is not sufficient fuel, that will also reduce the potential. And crossover is nothing but in the fuel cell, I said one anode, cathode, there is a membrane in between them. So if I am giving fuel hydrogen in the anode, sometimes fuel can go through the membrane and reach in the cathode. That is called a fuel crossover. If there is a fuel crossover, if membrane is allowing fuel to reach in the cathode side, then the reaction will change and it will cause the reduction in the potential. So these are not important for it is a little bit theoretical. That is the main potential loss is activation polarization, ohmic polarization, and concentration. Activation polarization is nothing but the loss based on the electrochemical reaction, and ohmic polarization is a loss based on the resistance of the system, and concentration polarization is nothing but the loss based on the fuel starvation. So combining all these three, the potential will be very less. It will reach around 1 volt instead of 1.23 volt. There is a loss of 230 millivolt. And when you do the fuel cell testing, you develop a device, anode, cathode, and membrane, everything. You assemble the system and you perform the fuel cell. You will get a plot like this. That is potential versus current. You will get a like such a plot. And this first portion is actually telling about the activation, and this middle portion is telling about the ohmic, and the last one is the fuel starvation. If there is no fuel starvation, this plot will go straight. From this plot, we can easily calculate the power density, and the power density will come like this. So we can calculate at which potential we will get this much power potential based on power. Based on that, we can fix a particular potential for our application. For example, we need 1 kilowatt of energy at a 0.6 volt. So suppose we need a 1 kilowatt, and at what potential this 1 kilowatt will come. That we can see from this plot, and we can easily identify at which potential this device give 1 kilowatt. So based on that, we can use in our applications. So now come to the main component of the fuel cell is the membrane electrode assembly. From this name itself, it is clear there is an electrode and a membrane. So membrane electrode assembly is nothing but it has two electrode. It is in between a membrane. It's a kind of sandwich type. So you can see here in this picture, it is very clear. So this is the membrane and this is the electrode. See, this all portion, this area is called, this region is called membrane electrode assembly. That is, the electrode is attached to the membrane in the either side of the membrane. See, here and here. One is called anode and another is called a cathode. So in reality, you can see that this is the actual picture of membrane electrode assembly. So you can clearly see that this one is membrane, and the black color is nothing but the electrode. Electrode contain catalyst supported on carbon, and that's why the color is like black. So this carbon, the catalyst supported carbon is sticking both side of the membrane, and its maximum thickness will be few micrometer. So what are the materials for membrane electrode assembly? I'm talking now about the material. So you can see this one, membrane and electrode. See, we are using the membrane. This is the membrane side. The membrane is nothing but the Nafion we are using. Nafion is a perfluorosulfonic acid membrane. So that will conduct a proton. And the Nafion is actually developed by DuPont. It is they have patented it. So they are the only manufacturer of Nafion, this perfluoro based membrane for fuel cell. And catalyst. See, catalyst is nothing. See, the black colored the metal nanoparticle, platinum nanoparticle we are using. So the particle is supported on conducting carbon, and these are using as a electrocatalyst. See, and then this is the MPL, that is a carbon layer. Here you can see this carbon layer. This is the actual structure of membrane electrode assembly. So you can see very clearly, you can see how platinum is supported on carbon, and it will help for the electrochemical reaction. So now come to polymer membrane and ionomer. So polymer membrane, there are many type of membrane is available, and basically we are using more commonly we are using Nafion, proton conducting membrane. It is a perfluoride. It's a sulfonic acid is given to the PTFE, polytetrafluoroethylene. That is nothing. It is actually Nafion, and these are all we are currently using in our fuel cells. And another membrane is polybenzimidazole. Polybenzimidazole based membrane. It is a high temperature membrane. That we can use it for this membrane at around 160 degree to 200 degrees Celsius. And again, sulfonated polyether ketone. It is an alternative to the Nafion membrane, low-cost membrane. Nafion is a little bit costly and is an alternative cheap membrane. and it's a aromatic membrane. Aromatic rings are there. So this one is also sulfonic acid functionalized, and that sulfonic acid functionalization is actually helping for the proton conduction. Along with the proton conducting, there are reports, or we are also trying using OH conducting membrane. These are all in infancy. There are no other commercially available membrane, stable membrane. So here, quaternary ammonium based polymer is using, and that quaternary ammonium actually holding that OH minus ion, and that we are using for our fuel cell application. These are the polymer membrane we are using in the fuel cells. So how these polymer membranes actually conducting ions, especially proton. So there are two mechanism suggested for the proton conduction in through the membrane. That is called the Grotthuss mechanism and the vehicle mechanism. Grotthuss mechanism, from this picture, you know that it is a sharing, proton hopping based mechanism. That is one water slowly, proton will link with the water and is form hydronium ion, and that hydronium ion share the proton through the membrane. So this is called the Grotthuss mechanism. And diffusion based or concentration based, concentration gradient based proton transfer, it is called a vehicular mechanism. That is, one proton is going from anode to cathode. It is not in a hopping way. Okay, so then after that another one going. This process is called this mechanism is called a vehicle mechanism. So there are only two mechanisms is available, predicted or suggested for this proton conduction in this proton exchanger membranes. So now come to the electrocatalyst. Electrocatalyst is one of the most important part of a fuel cell. Actually, this catalyst is helping the oxidation and the reduction of the reactants. That is oxidation of hydrogen and the reduction of oxygen. So what is happening in the anode? Hydrogen is oxidizing to proton and electron. The same thing, this equation is not balanced, and the potential is 0 volt. And cathode, what is actually happening? Oxygen plus 4 electron plus 4 proton gives water, and the theoretical potential is 1.23 volt. So what is EMF? The total reaction is two hydrogen molecule react with an oxygen to form 2 water molecule. So EMF is nothing but cathode minus anode. That is 1.23 minus 0. It is around 1.23 volt. So catalyst is like this. It is supported on any conducting carbon material, and the particles are nanometer size. Is around 2 to 3 nanometer. So there are main catalyst for fuel cell is platinum. Platinum based catalysts are extensively used in fuel cells. So there is a platinum supported carbon, like platinum supported on carbon, platinum supported on carbon nanotube, nanofiber, and graphene. And there are some alloys based platinum alloys and multi-composited alloys. That is multiple elements like platinum, cobalt, nickel, etc. So many metals are fused to form alloys, platinum based alloys, and shape controlled, different shape platinum based system. So there are vast studies on platinum based catalyst for fuel cells. Actually, this catalyst is helping for both proton formation, that is hydrogen oxidation, and oxygen reduction reaction at a low temperature. So at a low temperature, platinum is necessary. So I'm not discussing about this one. These are the potential of reaction at a different electrolyte. Acidic electrolyte, alkaline electrolyte, non-aqueous. It is in most of the fuel cell operation is actually happening in the acidic condition. So alternate catalyst, because platinum we are using as a fuel cell, then what will happen? Main catalyst I said platinum alloy or platinum core shell. We can call it as a platinum group metal we are using in our fuel cell. Then what will happen? This is a highly costly material, as well as this availability is very low in earth. So the cost of the actual fuels in the total cost of the fuel cell, around 50%, more than 50% is actually coming from the platinum based catalyst. So there is a agency called the Department of Energy, USA. They are actually deciding how much cost or how much platinum need to be used in the fuel cell. So DOE target is 1.25 gram per kilowatt platinum. That means that much low platinum need to be used in a fuel cell to get 1 kilowatt power. But practically it is impossible. That is just a target. We never get that much power with this much platinum loading. So platinum is very costly, so that we can try some other alternate catalyst which is actually helping for oxygen reduction reaction or hydrogen oxidation reaction or anode reaction or cathode reaction. So there are many metals like transition metals like iron, cobalt, nickel, etc., or perovskites or chalcogenides or metal porphyrin, etc. But this material cannot be used for our fuel cell because of the stability issues and poor electrocatalytic activity, especially for oxygen reduction activity, that is cathode reaction. So carbon-based material also used as a fuel cell catalyst. You may know that there are different type of carbon allotropes. So normal carbon, carbon nanotube, carbon fiber, carbon nanohorns, carbon nanoanions, and graphenes and graphines, graphidines. There are many allotropes already known. So these allotropes can also work as a catalyst for the electrode reactions. Unfortunately, the carbon alone cannot work a process called doping. What is doping? Doping, like in semiconductor, we say adding some impurity. Similarly, some impurity or another heteroatoms need to be added in the carbon to make it active for the respective electrode reaction. Okay, these are the things. So what are the dopants which are actually using for making carbon as a electrocatalyst? Fluorine, nitrogen, boron, phosphorus, sulfur. These element and somewhere here phosphorus, sulfur, selenium, tellurium, all these elements are doped into the carbon to make it more active towards the oxygen reduction and hydrogen oxidation reaction. And another catalyst is nothing but doping of nitrogen and iron together. So iron and nitrogen based coordination, such a coordination is very good for the oxygen reduction. So the idea actually arises from our blood itself. Our blood contains heme. Heme is actually a iron complex. Iron is bonded with the nitrogen of this protein. So this complex actually binding oxygen. From this, people try to make a similar structure, and that will help for the oxygen, mainly oxygen reduction reaction. So plenty of research activities are going on, such a iron and cobalt based complex compound as an alternative to platinum based catalyst. Okay, so now membrane electrode assembly is already over. I have explained most of this material, that membrane and catalyst. And the other layer, it is called gas diffusion layer, is usually a carbon paper or a carbon cloth. So these are the structure. How carbon is a woven type the carbon paper, just a carbon fiber compressed at high temperature and pressure. It form a thick sheet-like structure. And what is the role of this carbon paper? The carbon paper is highly porous, and we are using it just after this catalyst. So the role of gas diffusion layer is a gas diffused pathway from flow channel to the catalyst layer. So the gas is coming from anode or cathode, and the gas should easily pass to the electrode. Then only the electrochemical reaction will happen. So the carbon paper actually acts as a diffused pathway, gas diffused pathway, and it helps to remove byproduct. Actually, the chemical reaction is happening in the electrode, and water is producing, and the water should replace very fast from the electrode. So that is actually help. This GDL is helping. Keep some water on surface for the conductivity through membrane. So if all water is moving away from electrode, it will create a dryness, and the dryness will affect the membrane for the proton conduction, because proton conduction need a little bit water. So that water also provided by the gas diffusion layer. How it will not conduct or transport most of the water. A little bit water is actually preserving for the efficient proton conduction, and of course heat transfer during the cell operation, and provide enough mechanical strength, because this membrane electrode assembly is highly flexible, and gas diffusion layer is actually giving a mechanical strength to hold this membrane electrode assembly. So next, now we are going to see about the last one. So membrane, electrode, and gas diffusion layer, and the last one is called bipolar plate. Bipolar plate is a channeled graphite plate. It's a graphite plate, and see that graphite plate is actually separating the two cell. So what is the role of gas plate? The bipolar plate? To distribute a fuel and oxygen within the cell. See, there is a gas is actually coming from this hole, and there is a channel in the graphite plate, and the channel is actually the gas flow channels. Okay, that is for equal distribution of gases throughout the electrode, and it will facilitate water management. If water comes, it will also go out through these channels, and to separate individual cell in the stack. If the stack contains multiple cells, to separate the cell, there are different bipolar plate, many bipolar plate, and to carry current away from the cell. It is highly conducting. It is a graphite-based material, so that will conduct electricity. So these are the some quality for the bipolar plate. Any material we cannot use as a bipolar material. There are some criteria for it. So the conductivity will be higher. Electrical conductivity, thermal conductivity, gas permeability, and it is a corrosion free. It should not corrode, and it should show high strength and high density. Density should be lower than 5 gram per centimeter square. There are currently we are using here as a graphite as a bipolar plate, and there are metal also, stainless steel based metal also using as a bipolar plate. You can see that there are different material which are currently using as a bipolar plate, but the majority of the people are using graphite because of its high conductivity and strength. So now we have discussed the membrane and electrode, gas diffusion layer, and the bipolar plate. So a single cell, that is one cell, is like this. So this is CCM, that is catalyst coated membrane, or MEA, and this one is nothing but the gas diffusion layer, and this one is the bipolar plate, and this is the end plate. So this will assemble together. The whole assembly is called a single cell. This is a fuel cell. This is another representation of a fuel cell. And from this fuel cell, this is the fuel cell, and if we need, according to the power, this fuel cell can be single cell, multiple cell can be used and assembled in series to achieve that much power density. So till now I explained each component and what are the theory behind this process, fuel cell. Now I am talking about the technology, fuel cell technology in a global and Indian status. So there are many companies currently producing fuel cell. Especially you may be aware about Toyota, Hyundai, and Ballard, Bloom Energy. There are many companies for fuel cell production. So there are some criteria, roadmap for commercial applications. So the operation potential cell voltage is different for based on the application. For automotive, 0.5. So the application, the potential will vary, current density will vary, and the voltage cycle will vary. That is for the cycle will vary, and many fuel quality will vary. So that it, everything is depending on our end application. So weld qualified status, the hydrogen currently using the as a fuel cell is using as a vehicle applications. There are many vehicle already tried, even truck, now bus and train, even the flight also tested using fuel cells. And in the US case, US fuel cell market is slowly growing. By 2025, the polymer electrolyte fuel cell market will will be higher mass production. Currently, California are using in California. People are using a fuel cell vehicle, and in Japan also, Mirai is extensively using in California and in Japan. And the production of fuel cell by 2025, there may be 80,000 fuel cell. But in India, there is no much fuel cell vehicle introduced yet. And okay, cost base also, the target for 2017 is it was $30 per kilowatt, and still the target is continuing. In 2020 also, the target is $30 per kilowatt. That money, that cost will come only if bulk amount of fuel cell is producing, say around 50,000 or 5 lakhs of fuel cell vehicle is producing, then the cost will reach around $30. But in 2020, target is also around $30. We reached up to $45 per kilowatt, but main target is $30. In India is also has many initiation for the electric and fuel cell vehicle, and our laboratory, SICRI, Central Electrochemical Research Institute, is also producing fuel cell. This is one example for it. 1 kilowatt hydrogen air PEM fuel cell. This is actually the fuel cell. This is developed in our unit. And we also developed fuel cells for TVS motors. These are around 4.5 kilowatt high temperature high temperature fuel cells. And Reliance, see, the Reliance is also fuel cell 3 kilowatt polymer electrolyte. See, this is the fuel cell stack. You can see there are around 90 cell connected in series to achieve this 3 kilowatt. Okay, still that is working in Padalganga sites of. And at last, few days back, our one of our fuel cell is tested in a car. Our institute and the National Chemical Laboratory and then one company called KPIT jointly developed a fuel cell, low temperature fuel cell of capacity 10 kilowatt. It is a low temperature fuel cell, 10 kilowatt capacity, and that is used in this car as a energy source. And the car was run. It is this trial run performed a couple of days back, I think in 12th of this month. So I end up this presentation. So I covered most of the things like what is fuel cell, why we need a fuel cell, what is fuel cell, what is the theory of fuel cells, what are the components used in fuel cell, what is the current scenario of fuel cell in India and abroad. And you will also, I suggest a few books related to fuel cell. You can also use this for your needs. Thank you very much.
Thank you, sir.
The participants, please ask any clarification questions. The speaker, please go ahead.
Any question?
In household appliances, do we use fuel cells at present? No.
No, at present in India, not as started household application, but the countries like Japan is using.
Okay, thank you.
Participants?
How
Hello.
much time it will take to implement this method?
Sorry, the question is not clear for me.
No, household appliances we are not using, you told. So how much time it will take in future? I'm asking that it will come in use.
Let's say in within 5-10 years that will happen definitely, because it's already started. Even we don't need to wait up to that time. So this slowly for example in Reliance, that is for mobile tower. Okay. We are, Reliance is using their Geo tower basically on fuel cells. Energy is from fuel cells. So stationary application already started, and in the household cases, just need to implement in the house. That's all. So it doesn't need much time to implement even in the household applications.
Okay, sure.
So I want to ask one question.
Will it be cost effective if it comes in? How it will?
Please.
Now,
So I want to ask one question. Can I?
Yes,
Can
of
I
course.
ask? Yeah. So I want to know the difference between the potential of the electrolyte fuel cell and the normal cell.
Normal cell in the sense?
What is the difference between the potential? How would the difference between the potential of the electrolyte fuel cell and a normal cell, which we use at our home?
Normal cell. See, both are electrochemical process, and the electrochemical process is at the anode and cathode is different in both cases. Okay. For a hydrogen oxygen based fuel cell, the theoretically calculated potential is 1.23. But for another example, some example like single chlorine or single bromine, or even in single copper cell, that potential is depending basically on the electrode reaction. Okay, oxidation and reduction reaction. For a single copper cell, it is around 1.1 volt. That is the maximum potential. But in the fuel cell, it is using hydrogen and oxygen. So the maximum potential will go to 1.23 volt. If it is a lithium ion battery, it will go up to 3 volt, more than 3 volt. So basically, what are the chemical reaction is happening? That is actually deciding the potential of the devices.
Basically, it is deciding the EMF of the cell, na?
That's I'm telling. Electrode reaction. Yeah. Electrode reaction is happening in anode and cathode. EMF is nothing but the difference between.
Yes. Thank you, sir.
Okay.
Sir.
Yeah.
I want to ask one question that what is the future of technology? It is fuel cell or solar cell?
I cannot comment completely on this. Since I am working in fuel cell, I can tell it is a fuel cell. And if you are asking to some technologies for solar cell, they will say this is a solar cell. That depends on the perspective of the respective person. But definitely both will anyway deciding the growth of India.
Okay, thank you, sir.
Yeah.
Fuel cell.
Yeah.
Which is more eco-friendly, solar cell or fuel cell?
What?
Sir, I'm just asking that which is more expensive or eco-friendly, solar cell or fuel cell?
That I said, no, is depending on, see, for me, I can tell that, there is a concept. The solar cell can produce sunlight, and that can be stored in some devices. Okay, because solar energy is not available all day. Means in the night we cannot produce sun energy, right? But fuel cell can be useful in throughout the day as long as you have hydrogen. So hydrogen, we can, for the production of hydrogen, we can use solar energy. So both are interconnected. Using solar energy, we can split water into hydrogen, and that hydrogen can be stored and used for the fuel cells. So all the renewable sector is interconnected. That's why I cannot comment is only for solar energy or for fuels.
Thank you, sir. Sirikutan, sir.
Yeah.
Some questions in the chat box. Kakali Kuka asked the question, how much efficiency can we get from the fuel cell?
Yeah, fuel cell currently we can achieve up to 45%, but it's far higher than our combustion based engine. Practical efficiency I'm telling is around 45%, 35 to 45%, but theoretical potential is much higher, is around 83%.
Good, sir. And next, Deepika Priyadarshini. Sir, how safe is the fuel cell for use? What's the safety aspects? He is asking.
Safety aspects, fuel cell is safe only. I can comment only that. If it is not safe, we cannot use or we cannot develop. No, it's safe only. All safety concern we will take when it's implementing into any devices. Like, see, we are using lithium-ion battery. Are you thinking it is safe? So safety, actually lithium, when it's exposed to air, it will burn. So everywhere the safety concern is there, but during implementation, we will take care of it.
Good, sir. Good. And next is Swadi Chapra. Any idea about planned microbial fuel cell?
I have not much idea about biofuels, microbial fuel cells. But I know a little bit where their microorganism is actually assisting to produce energy from the pollutants. That's only I know, but I have no much idea in detail.
Farsana Sagan, you can ask any question. Madam Farsana. Okay. Next, Apurva Bharadwaj. Even in the worst climate, solar cell works at 60% efficiency. Isn't it better? He is asking the questions.
Even efficiency, I don't know. As far as I know, the solar cell, especially with a silicon-based system, is reaching around 23-30%. I don't know this 60% efficiency. I have no idea about this one, but of course, now research silicon-based solar cell is, it can reach up to 30%. It's not 60. I have a doubt on this value.
Yes, sir. Yes, sir. Thank you, sir.
Okay.
Hello, sir.
Yeah.
Yes, sir. Proceed, sir.
Is there any technology or the idea to reduce the cost of solar cell, to manufacture solar cell?
I have no much idea about the solar cell. Basically, I am working on fuel cells, so I have no much idea than some of the theoretical.
Okay, sir. Thank you.
Okay. Any other question?
Somebody is asking, how can I compare two fuel cells using polarization and power density curve?
See, based on polarization curve, it will be very easy to compare two cells, because if everything is, if one cell is working better, the polarization, the resistance, like activation loss or ohmic loss or concentration polarization, that will vary. So based on that, we can easily identify what is the problem in one cell compared to other, if you compare the polarization. So we can easily identify, we can compare the performance, definitely.
Good, sir. Deepika Priyadarshini asking a question, sir, it will be cheaper when introduced in commercial use.
Yeah, the main target I said is around $30 per kilowatt. So it will definitely, it should be cheap. Then only we can use as an alternative for the current IC engine based system. Definitely, it will come very cheap energy source, no doubt.
Thank you, sir.
That's why we are working on it, reducing the cost of fuel cells. That is the major research aim.
Okay, sir. Okay, sir.
Yeah.
So thank you, sir. Thank you for your contributions of this SIGASA program. Thanks a lot, sir.
Okay,
So,
thank you.
Dear participants, please stay on 5 minutes. We are nearing the validity function at exactly at 3:30. So stay on the same link 10 minutes. Okay.
Okay.
Thank you for your participations.
Thank you, sir.